Hello, class. If someone talks about the American pastime, you probably think about baseball. Maybe if you're feeling a little bit snarky, you might say football instead. Well, when I think of it, I've at least learned recently to think about harness racing. Harness racing is a sport in which a horse tows along a driver in a cart for about a mile. It can either be a trotting race or a pacing race, and depending on whether the horse's legs on one side move together or they move in more diagonally, so the left right, front leg and the right back leg move together. I think that you can really see it as a coming together of four different components: the history, the breed, the gear, and the people. The history starts in the early 19th century. People gathered together informally on these roads that had recently been refurbished, made stronger, and better able to handle such traffic. And they started just racing whatever horses they had on hand. These would just be their horses that they used in their everyday lives. And so it became known as a sport for the common man as opposed to racing of elite horses by rich people. As is said by Melvin Adelman in the first modern sport, harness racing in New York City, 1825 through 1870, which can be found in the journal Sports History. A butler rides a trotter. Of course, over time, rich people started getting involved, as was necessary for its legitimization, but it ruined somewhat the fact that everything was so easy to get into. And eventually, standardization was established with the creation of the National Trotting Association in 1870. But nonetheless, a rural or common association continues even to this day, where these races are often associated with county fairs. The breed was founded by the sire Messenger, who was a thoroughbred who was imported to the United States in the late 18th century. The name Standardbred comes from the fact that they were expected to live up to a standard, that being 2 minutes and 30 seconds for a mile. Here is Don Patch, who is a very important sire in their history, and we can look at him as an example of the breed. The breed differs from the thoroughbreds in that it is a bit shorter, standing at about 15.2 hands, or in normal person talk, just a little bit over 5 feet at the shoulders. Shoulders. Though they are a bit shorter, they do have a longer body. The gear that is used in it, some of it which is used commonly in horse racing. For instance, we have the bridle, which can be modified, such as by the inclusion of blinds or shadow rolls, in order to help limit distractions to the horse. More important to this sport, obviously, is going to be the harness, which connects the sulky to the horse. The sulky is the name of the cart which the man sits on, the driver sits on, I ought to say. Some other important gear is boots, such as this knee boot, which protects the horse from injury, such as if he were slapping his knees together. For pacing races, hopples are often used, and those can be seen here. They are used in order to maintain the gait, because if in a race a horse falls out of gait, that is disqualifying. But you can't have a race without people. The most obvious people are obviously the drivers. But they are only there with the horse on the track and then move on to their next race, their next horse, or not to say that horse. The horse is the property of an owner who, when not on the track, is maintained by trainers and grooms. Who, when the horse is not on the track, has him maintained by trainers and grooms. Of course, they get the horse from breeders who might show them off in a special race to show off horses, or by having an auction of some sort. But you can never forget in a spectator sport the spectators. Those are especially important in horse racing, where betting is a major portion of the industry. As Dan Fisher says in the November 2021 volume of the Trot magazine, I should say edition of the Trot magazine. Without customer betting, there would be no revenue. This is an important part of the industry, evidently. But the association with betting has led to some reputations and of fixing and bad stuff throughout the world where this sport is practiced. So, harness racing seems a bit odd sometimes. When you think about horse racing, it's not the kind that jumps first to mind. But as you look at its history, the breed which is used, the gear that's required, and the human element, you can see why it appeals to so many people. And you might find yourself asking, what stops it from being the national pastime even today? Thank you.